Right.
You can't see me?
No.
What are you talking about? You can't see me.
No. For real. That's it. Yo, this is Ayah Marar, and you're locked into my chat with Spoon.
Absolutely. Man, okay, so we'll kick straight into it. I just want to thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. One of the things I want to explore with you is just ideas, like 3 tips about how to make it work long term.
Well, I mean, there's nothing ever guaranteed. I think that's one of the main things in music. Nothing's ever guaranteed, you know? It's different for different people. Some people work better in a team, some people work better solo. I personally work better with a team. So to have people around you, and that doesn't necessarily have to be people in music, it can be family, it can be friends, but to have people around you that are a support network is really important. I think one of the reasons why I sort of took a step back from music as well was that I had a bit of a chink in the armor when it came to that. And things didn't kind of pan out the way they should have done with certain people. And that sort of threw me because you always think that you've locked on to something and that you've got something going on. And then, you know, it doesn't really work out that way all the time. So I think trust is a really important thing, finding people that you trust. Another thing is managing expectations. So don't shoot too high and don't shoot too low. You have to find where you want to get, where you want to fit into within music, and whether you're doing it for fun or whether you're doing it to get somewhere, whether it's commercially, whether it's underground, just know have some kind of plan or strategy. Otherwise, it just gets mixed up, you know. And then keep all of your paperwork in order. So whether you're recording with somebody and it's about splits, or whether you're kind of going into a publishing deal, or whether you're in a record deal, just make sure everything's in order
See,
on that
now
side.
there was a little smile when you said that, so that means there's a story or two.
There's always a story. People aren't always wanting the same things for you that you want for yourself, you know. And I think as soon as money is involved, people lose their way a little bit, you know. I never got into this for money, but you do get it to a point in your life where you need to be making money to survive. I had a bit of a bad experience with a certain person, and that's okay because I think I didn't really make it very clear from the start about how we were going to set it up. And you know, I didn't really check contracts properly. I didn't read the fine print, and it got me in a bit of trouble. But I'm coming out of that now and learning to be a bit more self-sufficient when it comes to, you know, keeping my eye on the ball with that stuff. Really.
I really appreciate that you've been so honest and open about that. One of the areas that I talk about with emerging talent is belief and belief in themselves, because it is such a hard industry and you have to have a thick skin, and that's just life generally.
You
But
do.
but also the importance of detoxifying your circle and making sure you're around the right people that want the same things for you.
Quite right. Absolutely. And
And
that can change.
and that's okay. It's okay that it changes.
Absolutely.
How do you maintain this belief in yourself? How do you figure out what you're going to do for the next 6 to 12 months, 3 years, even when it comes to your career and what you want from your career?
It's a funny thing, actually, that my husband came up with this because he used to work for Camden Council, funny enough, a long time ago, and he was in the housing and he was in business also with helping kind of recovering addicts and stuff. And what they did was they'd set out these plans where you had your goal, you had who was involved, you had, you know, when you check in, and what you want the outcome to be and the timeline, and sort of it's kind of like a diagram. And it depends how deeply you want to go into this thing, but for me it's good to look at something, so I like having something to write down, to look at, and to be able to visualize in that way.
Make a
Yeah,
plan.
absolutely, a plan. And it, you know, there's not necessarily that, like, you know, myself and say myself and Tom have written a track and I want to make sure that Tom checks in with the publishers and gives it. It's not always just on Tom, it's on me as well. So if Tom and I do something together, it's not going to be productive for anyone for me to just call him up and say, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? It's about, hey, let's do this together. You know what I'm saying? So there's no blame. There's no kind of finger pointing. We're in it together. If you start something with someone, finish it with them, you know?
Please talk to us about your journey and that transition from being an underground artist, a specialist artist, to your commercial success.
I've known Calvin Harris for a long time, and he he rented a room in my house when he was a young buck and he was kind of starting out. And we made some music together back then and released stuff on Electric Chair, which is a Manchester label, and, you know, did some underground tracks together. And then during his rise to success, we did a couple of other things together. And then Thinking About You came along, and that was great because it was, you know, the I think, ninth or 10th single off the album, which had been out for a couple of years already. And it went double platinum. And that just showed me that people were attracted to the songwriting and to the vibe behind it, rather than the fact that it was getting a massive push from the label, because it didn't really, apart from we got a nice video and stuff like that. But really it was people, I get people to this day come up to me and saying, you know what, I don't really like drum and bass, or I don't really like Calvin Harris, but I love that tune. Do you know what I'm saying? So they couldn't identify with either of our styles, but they kind of agree on that song. And I think anything that's made from a place of love and something that's real is always going to have that kind of resonance. But then in the meantime of that, because people sort of latched onto that, I was getting a lot of requests to write that kind of music. And that pushed me a little bit away from my music and my style, which was drum and bass from the start, and more hip hop based beats and kind of the grimier side of things. And I got a little bit confused because people were asking me to write stuff based on that, and that made me lose my identity a little bit, and that made me recoil a little bit from the scene, because I just thought to myself, well, if you knew me, you wouldn't be asking me to do something that's outside of my comfort zone. But equally, if you're going to be a songwriter, sometimes you have to be out your comfort zone. So that freaked me out, because I was like, I'm a singer, I'm a musician, I don't want to be told what to do. But then I'm like, no, but you kind of have to find that balance if you want to be successful. As I was just saying to you before we started this interview, I really want to get back to the real. I want to get back to the real sounds. I want to get back to working with the real people again, So there's a couple of people I've been doing tracks with. I mean, I did a few drum and bass things last year with the Prototypes, and we've got something coming up with Pavs. Pav from Foreign Beggars has got BRAP, which is an online platform for musicians to communicate and performers to connect over beats and musical sounds and all that sort of stuff. So he put me in touch with a musical duo from BRAP, and we're going to be doing a single together for his label. And then going forward, really just want to see who comes my way. I'm there for people if they want to hit me up and ask any advice or anything like that. I've always made myself available, as you have, on the network. So if anyone really wants to ask anything more, I'm all ears.
That's a great way to finish up.
Yeah, man. All right, cool.